Hey everybody, just thought we'd go ahead and do a really quick sprint watch here. This is kind of my show where I do a shallow dive on the roadmap and the progress tracker, especially just to kind of go through all the changes that I noticed from the last time they did this 2 weeks ago. We are almost exactly a week out from IAE now, which is the big anniversary sale for CIG, for Star Citizen, and there's been a couple of interesting leaks the last couple days. I will do my best not to spoil things, and being avocado, there are things I can talk about and things I can't talk about. And let's just go ahead and get started. So the way that I do this, I'll go ahead and I'll read through the roadmap roundup. I'll go over what's new on the release view, if anything, just kind of see what's coming, see what's changed. And then I go into the progress tracker. And the progress tracker is kind of where my view differs a little bit, because I'll kind of look at the different sprints here. And so that brings us to my caveat. So the caveat is that the progress tracker is tracking sprints. So Asiato's station here is 91 weeks. This is their combined sprints here is 91 weeks. And just because this is ending right here in week 10 of quarter 4 of 2022, that doesn't mean they're actually done with that asset completely for Squadron 42. It just means that that sprint, that planned work period on that deliverable, is wrapping up around then. So another team could come in, start working on it. This team might say, hey, we need another year to polish this thing, and they'll slap on 50 weeks. This thing might sit there finished for months, and then all of a sudden you'll see it pop back on the tracker because they got more people to work on it. So a lot of reasons a sprint can hit 100%, and most of those reasons don't mean it's dropping into the game next week. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and get started. So this is the roadmap roundup, and I'll put timestamps in the down below section. So if you like the way someone else does the roundup roadmap better, and there's definitely people out there with better voices than I have, just skip forward to the part that you want to watch. So I always kind of glance through this, and like one time out of 20, they'll hide something up in this top part. They didn't this time. So notable changes for November 9th, 2022. Release view. The following cards have been added to the release view, slated for release in Alpha 3.18, which now is looking like it's going to drop sometime next year. Time trial race missions. Time trial race missions are being added throughout the Stanton system. That is cool. So Grimhex, that area where you can look out over the asteroids and it looks like a gambling den, that is actually a racetrack. It kind of loops through there. So that will be one of them, I'm sure. Players will be able to test their skills versus set times, earning rewards based on performance, and even unlocking more tracks as they progress. That's cool. So racing is one of those things that back before the PU was really developed at all, you basically had Arena Commander, Racing, and Star Marine. And that was it. Yeah, and then you could go into the hangar and walk around your ship and not really do much with it. But racing since that time has really dropped off a cliff, and it's kind of cool to see it not only come back, but come back into the verse. Gen 12 scene render. New rendering architecture to improve performance. This milestone renders every scene object through a new render with optimizations and additional features, such as Vulcan coming into the feature. The following card is past, this is the next part. The following card is past its final review for Alpha 3.18. Therefore, we are changing its status to committed. Sandbox prison activities. So this means that they are 99% sure that this is going to make it into 3.18, which it's mostly complete on the progress tracker, so not a huge shocker. Sandbox prison activities. Expansion of prison gameplay with new suite of missions and sandbox activities to give inmates more opportunities to earn merits or aid in their escape from prison. Kind of cool. Prison gameplay is very linear. I have a walkthrough on this channel that'll probably be obsolete as soon as that drops. So we'll get to record another one. You guys want to jump in and join me? Let me know. Progress tracker. The following deliverable has been added to the progress tracker: Crusader Spirit. Building, balancing, and implementing Crusader Industries' small and multi-crew ship, the Spirit, into the game. Due to the vehicle awaiting a gameplay dependency from Squadron 42, this deliverable has been temporarily removed from the progress tracker. Anvil Legionnaire. Actually, the Legionnaire is still there. The one that was removed was the Crucible is gone, but it looks like the Legionnaire is still there, unless they just did it and they did like an update. The Spirit, last time I kind of said I think either this one or this one is the Spirit on the unannounced ships. They just hadn't moved it over yet. It was one of those. So we guessed right, gang. So that's it for the release view, or the roadmap roundup. Not a whole lot to it. So let's push on over the release view and see what they've done. 317. The only thing unreleased on this is the Drake Corsair, which we will be seeing next Friday. And I have that day off work so that I can go drool over it and fly it around and drool some more and drink a lot of water. All right, moving on. Daymar Crash Site, committed. New Rivers on Stanton, committed. Save Sandkai archetypes. We're probably getting rock bugs. That's committed. Greycat PTV Racetrack, committed. Those have been committed for a little while, so no huge shock there. Cargo System Refactor, it's not committed. It probably will be within a week or two. It's pretty far along on the progress tracker. It just needs to go through testing. Sandbox Prison Activities, that's the one that they just talked about in the roadmap roundup, so obviously good to go. Security Post reactivation. They added a couple weeks to this one, but it still looks like it's easily going to make it into 318, especially if 318 is coming in February or March of next year. New missions on Orison. They're taking the platforms that they had for Siege of Orison and spreading them across Crusader, and then you can go do different missions there, which is good because Crusader is pretty sparse on the places you can go. You can basically go to Orison and that's it. Time trial race mission, so there's the one that we just read about. It's tentative. They should have enough time to pull that one off. I think that one's probably pretty good. They've gotten pretty good since about 315. That things that they put on here, they're very conservative. So if they even put it on here on tentative, and this was something that Aaron Roberts talked about 2 or 3 years ago, and it ended up not happening. Everybody's like, oh, it's terrible. Staggered game development doesn't work, but now it's working. And so when something is tentative, they're about 90% sure that it's going to make that batch. So that in mind. Salvage hull stripping, already looking pretty good. They've had a bunch of shows on it. I think it's going to make it. Drake Vulture. Of course, we're going to get more than the Drake Vulture, but Drake Vulture is pretty much complete at this point, so I'm not sure why that one isn't committed yet. The Whole Sea is actually looking like a good candidate for this one, but I'm guessing the Whole Sea is going to be waiting for other tech before they put it in, like vehicle tractor beams, which probably aren't going to be added until 3.19 or 4.0. Vehicles and weapons, Greycat multi-tool salvage attachment. So originally I was thinking we're going to get a bunch of Volt. That's what it is. So the Volt guns, the assault rifle, the pistol, I think there's a sniper rifle. It looked like there's an LMG, which would make sense. That's kind of the lineup that the other gun manufacturers have. So it makes sense that Volt would have all of them. It's an asset for Squadron 42, so it makes sense that it's making it in there. I was originally thinking that would be a likely ad for 318, but now that it's like tentative quarter 4, not anymore. Yeah, it easily will make it into 318. Now the question is, will it make it into 317, 4, 319, or something like that? It's the guns, they look like they're mostly finished. There might be more work to go on them. Again, that kind of goes with the caveat about sprints. Cortec, persistent AE streaming, again, something that I've said the last few times. Persistent AE streaming, cargo refactor, and salvaging are the 3 big pillars of 318, and 318 will not drop until those 3 things are ready to rock. Gen 12 scene render, they just added that one, but we've seen the ISCs on it, and it looks pretty awesome. Looks like it's going to be pretty game-changing. Not as game-changing as persistent AE streaming, but kind of a big deal. All right, well, that is it for the release view. Let's go on to the progress tracker. So, again, the progress tracker, the deliverables view, I like to go by deliverables rather than teams. Teams can be very interesting if you're trying to figure out how much someone's working on. So if you're ever wondering, why isn't my ship coming out? It's just a bike or something like that. You can look at the vehicle feature team and see how many different projects they're working on, and they are not a huge team. It starts to make sense really quickly why the X1 grav bike is taking 71 weeks. With that in mind, the way that I set this up is on the 1 quarter view, because you can see individual weeks. We are right here, almost exactly halfway through quarter 4. Right around probably right around week 12, CIG goes on break, usually right after IAE, which is right about here. CIG kind of does, excuse me, CIG kind of does an end-of-year wrap-up internally, kind of does server reassessment with their teams, and then they go on break for a while. And they don't really come back until January. Then they start sort of having their internal teams will kind of go over things, reassess things, reassign work, bring teams on, bring teams off, decide what they can actually deliver in that year. So we won't actually start seeing big content again until probably around here. So from about here to about here, don't expect a lot of information. I imagine they'll be crashing the boards for 318, but beyond that, don't expect a ton of information. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and get going. And I'm not going to talk about every single thing on here. With the shallow dives, I tend to go relatively quick. Just kind of talk about the big changes I've seen, or something really significant is on there. I might mention a couple things on it. I got home a little later this time, so this one's going to be a little bit quicker than normal. So let's get going. The first thing I wanted to talk about, and I did pregame this a little bit, the AI usable system is wrapping pretty soon. So this one is improving implementation of the existing usable system to optimize the memory usage. So yeah, querying usable data at runtime. So this is a server thing from the sounds of it, which I thought that was something else with V2. So it should speed things up. It's cool. AI vehicle perception, I think that one is wrapping a few weeks. Yeah, but around their year end of their sprint. But that's the AI being able to perceive both vehicles and from vehicles, so kind of cool. I'm assuming mostly ground vehicles from the ground, as well as select ground-based targets. So if you're running around the ground, like physically running around, enemy ships or NPC ships might be able to strafe you now, or once that's in. AR map marker and system rework. This is a huge one, and we're getting pretty close. So this is one that I was thinking might be a sneaky add to 318, but now 318 is getting pushed. It's almost definitely going to be added to 318. It's really a question of whether they could sneak some of these things that I thought were going to be 318 and 317.4. Don't hold your breath for that, especially the feature complete date for 318 or 317.4 was probably right around here. So anything not real close to wrapping right around there probably is going to go in 318. They don't need to keep stuffing things in there. But anyway, 318, pretty safe bet we're going to be getting new map markers, new scanning, and a bunch of other sort of quality of life HUD improvements. I don't know why I had that on there. Argo SRV, rolling right along. It's about, I think about 2/3 of the way through its run now. Looking pretty good. Downstream teams, which is like UI, graphics, or not graphics, FX, audio, those are your downstream teams. Basically, the ship has to be completed, and then they go and they add those elements. They aren't in there yet. Once they're in there, this is going to stretch out a few more weeks, so you're probably looking at Q2 for the SRV, which, since they're not going to bring it in until vehicle tractor beams are done, doesn't matter. SRV will drop with vehicle tractor beams, and likely so will the whole city. So let's go on down. So building interiors, or actually Bounty Hunter 2. I did pop open a couple of these. Atmospheric pressure damage just wrapped. I wouldn't expect to get this in the game, but it's cool. That one should be pretty cool. Bam Merchantman, my baby, still looking at probably IAE of next year, so like November of next year, I would expect the Merchantman to drop, because again, this is just the content team working here. The downstream teams are going to have to drop back in. There's an alien ship, so they're going to have to make alien UI. They're going to have to make alien screens. They're going to have to make alien noises. It's a little ways off, which is fine. Bombs wrapping pretty soon. Release 315, that was just the Moab. That wasn't, they're talking about a variety of bombs. So we're getting like the size 5 bombs that the A2 or A1 Spirit carries, that kind of thing. Maybe bombs that can be carried by Gladius, Gladiator. I don't know if they'll ever put bombs on the Eclipse, but it seems like it would be an option. Bounty Hunter V2. This is actually the first one on here that had a change. The duration actually dropped by 8 weeks. It used to be 72, now it's 63. Going to be next year before we get it, Q2, so that one could easily stretch out. My guess would be this is a 4.0 asset. Bounty Hunter, Pyro would make a lot of sense to drop that at the same time. Building interiors, this is a cool one. It added 13 weeks. I was thinking there was an off chance we might get this for 318. Given that 318 is dropping later, maybe, but yeah, this is looking like it's going to be a 4.0 ad. And there's going to be more downstream teams in it. Cargo system refactor, again, they're not dropping 318 until they finish cargo system refactor. Almost done. So when I said that this one was looking pretty good, it's looking pretty good. They might have it done by the end of the year, which means they'll start getting tested by Evo, and then we'll probably get it next year. Crusader Spirit, go past all the Squadron 42 chapters. No changes on those this time, just kind of proceeded. See, character work for Squadron 42. I've been running on the theory that Squadron 42 is going to have a go, no-go to move to beta, which means feature complete, and they'll just move on to polishing rather than just adding more and more game loops and gameplay and levels and characters and stuff like that. At a certain point, they're going to say, no more. We've got the game we want. Now we need to fix everything, knock out all the bugs, make it look pretty, make sure it runs on all these different platforms, make sure the UI is where we want it. That kind of thing. That's beta, at least by my definition. I think they're going to have that at the end of December. They're going to have a big meeting and sort of say, where are we at with Squadron 42 and can we do it? It's my theory that I'm going on. Charge terrain is almost done. That's kind of a cool one. I don't think we'll get this one until we get persistent hangers and probably maybe tractor beams would be my guess, because this is going to be a big deal moving around crates and stuff like that, like actual cargo. Let's see, Crusader Spirit was the next big one. 50 weeks, so this is its first time appearing up here as a known ship. It had the short sprint up here, and they started work on it. So they are actually building this thing now. Again, just because the sprint is ending out here near Q3, there's no downstream teams on this, so that's going to stretch. It's not a huge ship, and they have a pretty decent asset pack for Crusader, a pretty good style guide for them. So I wouldn't expect it to stretch too far into Q3, so not bad, not bad. So around this time next year, should be getting Crusader Spirit, I would guess. Next one, not that one, Drake Corsair. It's dropping next week, and this is next week. So that thing is looking real good to drop in our hangars next Friday, and that will be an awesome day. I've had that one since concept and have been really waiting on it. That if the Banu Merchantman, if I just can't crew that thing up, then I'll downsize to the Corsair and I won't cry buckets. Dynamic events. So this one added 13 weeks. So if I remember right, this one was dropping late next year anyway. Yeah, after Q2. So probably a 4.0 asset. My running theory is that 4.0 is going to drop for IE next year. So September to around November next year is kind of my target window for 4.0. I think that that's possible. I think the big blockers for 4.0 are persistent A streaming, which is 318. EVA Tier 2 hits 90%. Should be ending out here in Q1 of next year. Again, they have a break here, so this is going to stretch out a little bit. But should be able to add it for... I don't think it makes the cut for 318. Like I said, I think 318 is they're feature complete right now. They dropped the hammer on what they're going to stuff into it. I think this will be added to 319. I've kind of been saying for a while that I think 319 will kind of be a stealthy engineer patch. Don't care about flak ammunition. FPS radar scanning. So this is one of those things that I'm talking about that I think 319 on top of engineering will get some really cool UI elements. But because 318 is getting pushed so much, we might get some of those UI elements in 318. I mean, this one, provided they don't have more sprints to do, which they very easily could, might even be a 317.4 add. I would be extremely surprised. So 318 at the earliest for FPS radar scanning, but that one is kind of cool. Freight elevators, this is sort of, think of freight elevators, if you want to say that tier 0 of cargo running was you hit the button and the cargo appears in your ship, and tier 1 is what we're going to get now, where the cargo is more or less physicalized, you can move it around while you're flying, it's 1 SEU. Freight elevators will be tier 2, where you will order the cargo and it will come down this freight elevator, and then you will have to start loading the big boxes. I'm guessing this will come with the big boxes, and that will come with the whole C and vehicle tractor beams for one next year. So that's pushing 319 probably around June. FS, do I want to talk about this one? Okay, so this one, FS tech animation, asset integration, this is a level of details thing, LODs. So just kind of speeds up performance on some things when it doesn't have to render a 5,000 or 50,000 poly model at distance. So this just kind of streamlines that process, wrapping pretty soon. So that'll have good synergy with Gen 12 render. We should start seeing speaking of the Gen 12 render, we should start seeing a lot of synergy between those two. Gen 12 render, looking good. It's sort of pushing the end of the quarter, but probably what they'll do is they'll release it to us and they'll just kind of keep iterating on it, which they do a lot with these big ticket items like Gen 12. Hacking, kind of had bad news on... No. Good news on this one. This one's almost done. I don't think we're getting hacking in 3.17.4 or even 3.8. I kind of had hacking pegged as a 3.19 asset because I think it's kind of waiting for other deliverables to make the gameplay viable, like locking boxes and ship locks and things like that. I think that might be coming with the ship CPU. Lockable containers are right here. I'm going to go back up to ladders, not life support. Lockable containers. So I think that this is one of the things that we're waiting on for hacking, and that doesn't come until Q2 of next year. So even though hacking is finished now, it's probably waiting for other game loops to come in before it's actually put in the game. Ladders tier 1, wrapping pretty soon. They might try to sneak this one into 3.17.4. I would think that would be more a 3.18 asset or 3.19, but they might try to sneak it into 3.18. Life support, this kind of goes along with my theory of a engineering patch for 3.19 that's around June 2. Because around the time they realized that they weren't going to get 3.18 out in Q4, all of those things I kind of had pegged for 3.19 got shoved out to June. So I'm thinking 3.19 is an engineering patch, which should be awesome because that's multi-role gameplay. Everybody will start getting the players, not just the people that want to be the pilot, but the people that want to be like the Scotty of diverse. They want to be the engineer. They don't really give a crap about flying or being a Marine. They want to fix shit. That's where it's going to come in. Map and radar system rework. This is pretty close to done. Wrapping up near the end of the year. Again, I thought that would be a 3.19 ad, but it's looking with 3.18 getting pushed. It might make it into 3.18. Don't count on that. I would still say 3.19, but if all of a sudden you know your map is working better in 3.18, that's why. Mystical Sea, it's wrapping pretty soon, but again, they're waiting for assets before they put it in. They're not going to put it in now. It's going to come with the cargo elevator, vehicle tractor beams. It'll come with that tier 2 of cargo running. So let's move on down. All right, so here we go. So the next one is the Mobiglass rework. We're about less than a month out, actually less than half a month out. So we might be... My dog just snorted at me. I don't think I deserve that. Mobiglass rework. We might be getting that in 3.17.4. It'd be surprising, but almost certainly by 3.18, unless they add more sprints. That one's looking pretty solid. So 3.18, 3.19, we should get a lot of UI improvements. So let's go on down. So new interdiction scenarios. This one was already a little ways out, and they added another 19 weeks to it. So that's the only big thing with that. New missions on Orison, which is supposed to be in 3.18, looking pretty good. So let's keep going. Ocean Shader, wrapping pretty soon. It says released in 3.10. This is sort of what I mean by they'll make an improvement and then they'll iterate on it, and then they'll iterate on it, and then they'll iterate on it. They're iterating on it. Maybe 3.18, you'll notice the oceans are a little bit prettier. So let's keep going. Persistent hangars, again, this is something that we're probably not getting the whole sea until this is in, even though the whole sea can't be loaded and in a hangar. It kind of goes along with that cargo loop. So 319 might be that. Persistent streaming and server meshing. So this is partially PES, persistent streaming, that we're getting now. But you'll notice that it goes on a lot longer than now. And that's because, again, this is tech that we're kind of getting tier 0 of this with PES. So a lot more work to be done, obviously. And look at all the teams involved. That is a huge, huge, huge deal. So let's go on down. Physical damage and breakability is wrapping pretty soon. I don't think it'll make... doesn't look like it'll make the cutoff for 318. I think the sort of deadline to get things in for 318 was probably realistically back here, and then if a team needed another couple weeks, they're like, okay, wrap it up. But this one's been out here for a little while, probably 319. Moving on down. Physics rope simulations, wrapping pretty soon. Again, I think it missed the window for 318, probably a 319 ad. And it'll probably... For a while there, I was thinking ropes would drop with the new caves, and we get rope gameplay where you'd have to ascend and descend on ropes, or you'd use them to help climb, but not yet. Looks like it's going to be 319. So these hints and interactions, this one added 17 weeks. It was going to end right here, but what was happening was they were waiting for the USPU team to get involved, or to block out their time. Now they've blocked out their time and the bar jumps. That happens a lot. Player interaction, lockers, and inventory. This is cool because this is potentially an ad for 318 that personal inventory, expanding the inventory UI to include lockers, might be in 318, but since they haven't mentioned it at all, probably 319. So let's keep going. Just going to kind of roll through the last of these, because a lot of these it's just kind of like, yeah, it's wrapping pretty soon. Like Rastar means they'll start be able to bust out outposts and towns and settlements very quickly and make them look good. They won't just be these mobile homes with one guy standing behind the desk ignoring you. They'll be living, breathing towns eventually, once Quana is working, once Assumption is working. Brave New World. Salvage, vehicle munching, that's tier 2 of salvage. Looks like it's dropping probably around 319. If that really is a June patch. Salvage tier 0 though, which is hull scraping, which is what we're getting in 318, a week out. So when I was saying those will probably be confirmed before too long, don't be surprised. This is why sandbox person activities went to confirmed, because it wrapped like 2 months ago. So at this point, what team is that? The mission feature team basically said, they said, do you need more time? And they're like, I think we're good. Looks pretty good. We'll throw it at the players, see what they do with it, and then come back to it if we need to. And they definitely will. So Security Network version 0 and Security Network V1, these were not on the roadmap before. I am almost certain. Or if they were wrapped ages ago and I just missed it. Or more likely what happened was it had a sprint that was like 2 weeks long and they were actually working on it the whole time and just forgot to update the Jira. Who knows? But this one I'm pretty sure wasn't on there before. 115 weeks, whatever it is, it's going to be a little ways out. Full implementation of the security system includes other features for which players may need clearance level, such as doors and elevators. And guess what? Hacking. So hacking is probably waiting for that. So once this comes in, hacking will come in. Let's see, when is that? Is that 319? It's looking like end of June. Well, June, July. That could be a 319 thing, which that kind of goes along with my engineering theory. Security post Korea reactivation. We're a week out. That's looking good for 318. Let's see. Ship CPU. This is another thing going along with that theory that 319 will be an engineering patch wrapping around the end of the year. Wrapping around the end of the year, that could potentially make it to 318, but kind of like I was saying that 318 would be feature locked. Probably not. I would look for even 319. Subsumption editor, this just makes the NPCs act a little bit smarter and kind of do smarter things. I think that's actually debugging for that. Time trial race missions, this is what they were just talking about. It's running 24 weeks. We're about a third of the way through. Going to be wrapping next year, so that's probably... You see, this says 318. I think what we're getting, because I expect 318, well, that kind of gives you an idea when they're thinking of dropping 318 is around March, which is what I've been saying for a little while. But it is interesting that I would expect things to be feature locked around here, and here they're adding something that doesn't end until here. So probably what they'll do is they'll add one or two racetrack. That was a weird way to say that. One or two racetracks, and then, or they'll add it to Arena Commander instead, and then you'll start getting in the verse on the 319 patch. But there you go. And then unannounced ships, I wanted to talk about a couple of them. You've got this one for 2 weeks that was narrative team. That is way back here. I don't think that that is any of the ships that we're getting, because if the RSI Galaxy is as big as they say, it would take a lot longer than 2 weeks. And some of the images that I've seen bumping around online make it sure look like they've got a pretty good gray box running on it. So I have a theory. One of my theories was it's the 71 week one. But the vehicle concept on this has not stopped yet. This one stops around March. Or actually, no, they bumped it out to June. So I don't think this is the Galaxy. This was kind of candidate number one, but I think this is something else. I don't know what, but whatever it is huge. That thing is big. This one at 41 weeks, that's your Drake Cutter. This one at 32 weeks, that's your Medical Pisces. And this one down here with audio and VFX, I am thinking, even though the vehicle concept team isn't involved, this is probably the Galaxy, and they probably have an ad for it. And that's why it's audio and VFX, is because it's a video. It's sort of like the Pioneer video. You're going to have the RSI boss come out and be like, look at this cool ship I designed, and then it's going to show up blowing the shit up. And it's the idea behind that one. So it's either that gigantic 71 week one, and they're, for some reason, I would guess if it is this one, they're just kind of working through the gray box or the white box and getting that really nailed down, and then this is where they actually build it. So maybe the white box and gray box are actually attached to the vehicle concept team. I don't know, they might have changed their pipeline a little bit or gone through a lot of iterations on their design. Virtual AI service wrapping pretty soon. This is a really cool one. So what this does is sort of bridge the gap between subsumption, which is just NPCs sort of have a schedule where get up, walk to your store, work in your store, go to the bar, go home, go to sleep, wake up. That kind of thing is subsumption. Quanta AI is kind of a virtual AI. So what it is there is a possibility that you will run into a pirate in this location. And then you go through that location and it rolls the dice and it says, oh, okay, so that pirate spawns. Now it has to create that pirate. That's where subsumption comes over. So it'll just kind of like create a few elements for that pirate. If the pirate escapes, now all of a sudden he's got a virtual NPC where he's got a life. He's not just a theory that he would be with Quanta of you might encounter something here. Now it exists, now it moves over to subsumption. That's what that is. And if you're a dev and I totally screwed that up, let me know in the down below parts. 0G push pull, this goes along with the EVA Tech 2. Probably not getting it for 318. Looks like a 319 ad. I would be over the moon if we got that for 318, but it doesn't look like we're going to. But it's over 90%. It's looking really solid. It looked really good during SitCon. But that's all I got, gang. If you have any questions, comments, your own theories about what's going on, or just want to blab away at me, let me know down in the comments. If you like what I'm doing here, like, subscribe, and see me next time.